Well, it says I'm live. Hopefully, I'm live. Hello, and welcome to Restore Belief with Nikki. Um, I hope I am. Somebody out there in YouTube land, let me know. Type in the chat. Let me know that you're here, if you would please. But bum. On that note, I do see a couple of people in there. Anyway, hello. Today is Thursday, the 27th of July, 2023. And hello, Amy. Today is going to be all about a short trip I took. Very short trip. It was 2 days. And was rather an interesting trip, to say the least. And apparently I need to take care of this light, so excuse me a moment. For some reason, this is not behaving properly. Come on. Be nice. Anyhow, okay, so we begin. Anyhow, the trip I went on was over to, okay, so I live in Washington State. And I'm in the specific area of a large city. So we went over to the Washington Peninsula over by Sequim. And in the process, there was a very small town. And I have talked about this town on a number of shows, including Restore here on Restore Belief. I don't know if I've, Amy says must be specific when talking about the Pacific. Yes. Great. I like that. That was good. Hey, Drew. Good to see you here. Sorry, my face is all itchy. I didn't put cream on today, and I'm all dry, which is not normal for me. So, and it's because of being out in the sun. So, make sure you wear your sunscreen, folks, if you're out in the sun. Anyhow, Tacoma, Washington has bad juju. Yeah, we're not going there, Drew. But I'm not in that area anyway. So and my chair is doing something wonky, so I'm not commenting on that one, Drew. Anyway, so went over last week to the Washington Peninsula, and there's this little town that, as you're getting to the peninsula, that you drive through. And a few years ago, I was there, and a number of years ago, it was 2019 actually. Couldn't tell you exactly when at this second, but it was in the year 2019. It was passing through, and I kept getting pulled, and I couldn't understand why at the time. But I was getting just drawn to go into the town and up onto this hill. Well, up on this hill is a cemetery. The town has been a town. Oh gosh, I knew I would do this. This is why I took pictures of certain things. Oh, please tell me I still have it on here. Yes, I do. Awesome. The town has been a town since it was established in 1856. Or thereabouts. That's what I have written down for the cemetery. So probably a little earlier than that, maybe 48. Anyhow, that's my estimation. I'd have to go in and look through the book and stuff. So I was drawn there, And lo and behold, at that time, the energy in the cemetery itself was wonky. And I couldn't put my finger on exactly what it was. Now, I have talked about this. Well, the cemetery was established in 1856. So if I go back and I look through some of the records of the town, that'll probably be in the 1848 to 1856 range. Anyway, so Drew was saying 1848 or newer. So I'm on site. I'm at the top of this hill where the cemetery is, and oh my gosh, gorgeous view of Hood Canal from that hill. I mean, just drop dead gorgeous view. So the energy's wonky. I walk through, I do a complete walkthrough of the cemetery, visit every single, or almost every single grave marker, gravestone, plaque, the whole kit and caboodle. And I kept getting told hanging tree. Now, this is going to be a shock to those who live in the town, because of some factors. Anyway, Drew says, I'm sure they loved your attention. You mean the spirits, Drew? Yeah. So I got drawn there. I didn't just get drawn there. I was yanked, pulled. And there was a serious amount of paranormal going on. I mean, we are talking hard freaking core paranormal. Okay. And I'm walking through, and I'm at literally the opposite end of this cemetery. Now that, remember, this is 2019. I'm at the opposite end of the cemetery, and I keep getting pulled to the trees. And I'm like, what the heck is going on with these trees? I don't even get halfway across, and it's a small cemetery. In the grand scheme of things, it's not that big. It's, I would say, maybe quarter of an acre, half an acre, if that. If those that know acreage and space and all of that, spatially aware. So I don't even get halfway across the cemetery, and I'm being pulled to this tree, and I'm getting told hanging tree, and I'm like, excuse me? And I'm feeling spirits around me, but I'm not. That's not always typical for me. Sometimes a cemetery, you don't feel a thing, and then other times it's a live freaking wire, and other times it's you'll get one or two. I was inundated, I suppose is the proper terminology. So not even halfway across, I'm getting told this one tree is called the hanging tree. And I'm like, the hanging tree? What the? I had a lot of expletives to say after that. And there's nothing that I could find. Of course, I was there on a Sunday and things were closed, or I was there late on a Sunday and they were closed. So everything was closed. But it was just before sunset at the time. I'm trying to remember. I think this might have been in September or October of 2019. It was just before. I was there for like an hour and a half walking through the cemetery. Hour and a half, 2 hours at the most. And I usually am not that long in the cemetery. But you get yanked and pulled on and drawn to something that significantly it makes an impact on you. Whether you're a psychic, a medium, or not. And I know I've got somebody on the other side going, get to it. Come on, tell the story. And I'm like, ugh. So this is going to be a drawn out story, guys, just simply because there's so much information in this. And I wasn't exactly going to talk about this yet. However, it's been once again pulled on me, spurned onto me that it needs to be done. It needs to be talked about. That and the fact that I met two of the loveliest ladies, very nice women, in the town last week. One is I want to call her a museum curator. Oh, honey, and I can't think of your name. I want to say Nancy. I'm not exactly, I don't remember right at this very second. And the other one, I think her name was Robin. Just wonderful ladies. Very, very much appreciated talking with them. Wonderful energy about the two of them. And we're talking different times meeting them. Did not meet them together. Different stores, different areas, different locations, that kind of thing. And it's also, I got my hat there. I got my new hat. I just love this hat. Obviously not with headphones, but and for me to buy a hat is a big deal. I mean, for me to spend money is a really big deal. It has to be something that I really, really, really want and will figure out a way to treat myself. And it's very hard to do at times. And this hat just makes me very, very happy, and I don't know why. It just does. So that, and it'll keep me cool. Any place, whoops. Oh yes, we won't read that. The more modern or well-to-do towns would have a gallows. Yeah, this was, see, that's the thing, Amy. Andrew, no, it wasn't true. It was, Amy is also saying the hanging tree was almost a standard feature of 1800s towns. The thing is, Amy, there, based on what I understand, the town doesn't know that that's what that tree was called. And I was later told in 2020 by the spirits that see, okay, so there's this whole story of me on this piece of property, and somebody that knows that town a lot better could give a lot more information about the town and the history of the town. While I was there, I was given a book, and it anyway. The book is a phenomenal book. I'm very, very interested. So thank you. The other thing about, oh God, there's just so much. I'm getting sidetracked. Okay, so the hanging tree. So I walk over to the hanging tree, and I have this intense need to hug a tree, which is not normally me. I'll put my hands on the tree and things like that. But to hug a tree, I'm not a tree hugger. I've never been a tree hugger, but I love plants, and I am happiest usually in a garden, planting plants and doing all different sorts of things and growing things. And I used to be really, really good at growing all different kinds of plants, fruits, vegetables, everything. So I had to put my hands on this tree, I couldn't, it was so strong. It was like, it wasn't, I wouldn't classify it as an addiction, but it was just intense. Um, and I walked up to the tree, and it was like, it was like I was overwhelmed with emotion, and I couldn't understand why. I mean, hello, I was told that the tree was literally called the hanging tree. Um, I was also told that the town didn't know that. Um, and that made no sense to me. Of course, I wasn't told that until just before I left, but that's beside the point. But there's the information. Excuse me. And I walk up to the tree, and it's beautiful, lush green grass all around this tree. And I walk into a pit. I mean, my foot literally, there's it looks like the grass is only maybe this tall when in fact it was this tall. And so, uh, and that's because they had roots coming up and out of the ground. And whoever had mowed at that given moment in time didn't use like a weed eater or weed whack or whatever you want to call it and get down into it. They just went right over the top, which was fine. It looked beautiful. But if you're walking up to the tree, I ended up walking into the tree and falling forward and literally, okay, we're hugging the tree. And I'm like, okay, well, that didn't help because it caused issues with the back and the body and all that jazz. Beside the point, the second my foot went into this divot, this pit, matter of fact, I have a picture of what is now left of the tree, um, which is a different subject altogether. Major different subject. See if I can find it. Yeah, here. So I walk into it, my foot goes down, I go face forward into the tree, and yeah, it's not going to show up on that. Oh, it will on this one though. So here's what's left of the tree. Let's see if you can see this. Yes, no, maybe. Moving it. Okay, so right up in here and here, there are holes at the where the roots are coming up out of the ground. That's one of the places, one of the two places, because I ended up walking around the tree. Tree's no longer there, folks. Town cut the tree down. Oh, I cried. Last week I just stood there and I stood and I was just in shock. So when my foot went in, face forward, yeah, it's a maple. Then I'm holding on to the tree to stand upright because I'm like leaning over. I'm hearing screams, like hundreds upon hundreds of tiny voices screaming at me. You're in our houses. You're in our houses. And I'm trying to push myself back to stay stable. Number one, I walk with a cane, folks, if you don't know that. And this, I mean, and I'm usually pretty stable on my feet, but with the back, the way it's been the last number of years, I've had to have a cane just to be sure that I stay completely stable. And this just, I mean, completely threw me. The cane went flying one way and I'm going into the tree. It's comical. I mean, I can laugh about it now. It wasn't at the time. And I'm hearing screams in my ears as I'm going face forward into this tree. and being told what I'm being told, basically get your foot out of our homes. And I'm like, what the F is going on? I mean, seriously, what the hell is going on? What did I mean, and then I get upright. I say, thank you, tree, for the stability. I take a step back, stabilize myself, and the cane is off to my right. And as I'm standing there looking at this tree and then looking down, I'm like, what the heck did I just step into? And that's when I realized, hello, you got roots coming up out of the ground. You got a pocket. The mowing was an issue, but the screaming. And I was like, okay, obviously these are beings that live around in somehow of this tree. And I know I'm not going nuts because I'm a psychic medium, and I know that I talk with different beings, different. I've talked with Fae, I've talked with Fairy, I've different hierarchies, that kind of thing, and I'm like, why? And I'm not seeing them. By the time I take the full step back, I am covered, head to toe. I wasn't in this shirt at the time, but I was in one similar to it. And I'm literally putting my arms out like, like this, and out like, out this way. And I'm feeling wings. I'm not seeing anything, but I'm feeling little wings. And that's the only way I could classify them, was wings, because you're feeling a flutter as if you're having butterflies land on you. That is what it felt like. And literally, I mean, they landed on my head, they fluttered around. There was no wind that day. No wind that day. Wind didn't actually well, I can't say that day. The wind actually didn't start until I think like about 5 or 6 minutes before sunset. And this was quite a ways before that time. Quite a long time before the sunset. So basically, this was a really big deal. They were on my chest. I felt them on my décolleté. I felt the wings around my chubby fat cheeks, up around my nose, and I'm blinking and I'm like, I'm not seeing them, but I'm feeling them, and I'm hearing them, and I'm hearing, we love you, thank you, you are here, you're going to help us. And I'm like, I'm going to help you? What does this mean? I mean, what is going on? And the next thing I know, I'm seeing, they're so fast. Oh my God, they were so fast. These are fairies. And they were white and they shimmered, and I don't know how else to describe them. It was like they were so fast in and out of our, I don't want to say reality. It's not. It's almost like a parallel universe. I don't know how else to explain this. But basically, I was I had my arms out and I'm looking at my hands going like this, and and they're just flying and floating, coming down. And then I had little, that felt like, I don't want to say little ants, but tiny, itty bitty. If you have a centipede on you, crawling on you, that's the only thing that I can, and I've had that happen. When I was in Tonga, when I was a kid at 10, 11 years old, 9, 10, 11 years old, I had a centipede crawl on my leg. I am here to tell you, that's kind of like what it was like with little tiny, tiny feet. I mean, and covered. I felt them on my back. I felt them on the top of my butt. I felt them. I had pants on at the time. I felt them on. It was weird because it was like I could feel the wings behind my legs, but on the tops of my legs, I could feel feet. It was like they were landing. and flying and landing and flying, and I was just covered. I was covered, and I'm going, okay, if I talk about this, people are going to think I'm nuts. This is really happening, and I'm hearing them. I could actually hear a collective it was the strangest feeling. The feeling was they were waiting for me. They were waiting for a long time for me. That was the sensation. And I've never said that. I've never said that publicly. I've never said that privately to anybody that I'm aware, that I remember right now and that I'm aware of. So I'm covered head to toe in fairies, and iridescent and white, and some were bigger than others, and some were like about this big where others were about this big, but fly their wings, oh my god, so fast. And I could catch, it was like my psychic eyes could see them. My human eyes were getting glimmers in the sunlight because it was still beautiful sunny day that day. And I'm just like, and the love, oh my god, the amount of love. It reminded me of what it was like being in, lack of better terminology, God's presence when I've crossed over spirits before. The love that, uh, I mean, I call him God. I typically, when publicly, I usually say source. But it's just, the love, the incredible love, was just mind-boggling to me. And I just stood there for the longest time. I just stood there. And it wasn't just them that was pulling on me. The reason why I felt like I was being drawn and pulled and yanked into this cemetery, I had to be up on that hill. I had to be. And uh, so I had a combination. I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. I had a combination of the fairies pulling me there. I had a combination of the souls that were there that were pulling me there. I had a combination of, a necromancer, long deceased. Um, wasn't until 2020 that I dealt with the situation in that cemetery. And when I went there last week, when I walked through the cemetery last week twice, did I walk through it twice? Yes. No. I made a liar out of myself. I'm sorry. Once I was there. I was there on Thursday, but I was in the town on Friday. So then that's a whole nother subject. That's a whole nother paranormal experience. Um, sorry. But when I was there, walking through the cemetery on Thursday last week, uh, the energy, it was sterilized. It was clean, and more than just clean. And part of that, is because of what took place in 2020. What I did not know in 2019, and the reason why I got drawn and pulled there, uh, was because of a woman. I'm going to see if I can find her in this book. This is a book that, I've got her in picture. So this is a book that I was given, um, by someone from the town. Um, it's a really informative book. Um, I will probably talk more about that later. But here is, let's see if I can find you again. Um, let's see. Come on, Nikki. No, I'm not finding it. Bugger. Bugger the beans. Day 2. Let's go back. No. Oh, yeah. Here she is. Okay, so this is a picture that I took while I was standing in the museum. And this is the woman. When I saw her picture, I stood there and cried. This is the woman who came to me when I was in the cemetery. Let's see if we can hold this picture up. Come on, show. Ooh, hang on. I gotta stop moving. There we go. This is the woman. And her name is Mrs. J.P. Keller. She, yeah, I am going to start crying. That woman has power, man. I am here to tell you. She refused to allow me to leave the cemetery. I could not cross the threshold. Matter of fact, she wouldn't allow me 5 feet from the threshold without making a solemn vow and promise. And it was, you have to make a vow to me. That was what she said. And I said, you're requiring me to make a promise to you about what? And she told me that I had to make a solemn, and this is how she stated it, a solemn vow to all the residents of the cemetery from not only that town, but all the residents. That meant long before that town was ever established as a town. Okay? This woman had some serious power behind her. She had already been crossed over, but this was her home. And these were her people. These were her, not just town folk, but she loved and cared about them. And I knew, I was going to say you knew, but I knew from the intensity of her, she was there for these people. Now, in this town, there is I'm going to start seeing. She literally forced me. I literally could not pick up my foot. I've never had a spirit be able to have that kind of power over me physically. Sorry, I got the tears going. This really, it really hits home. I've never had a spirit have that kind of ability to literally stop me from moving. Not only am I a big woman, I make no frickin' bones about that, no pun intended. And for those watching that are from a specific bariatric clinic from a number of years ago, you will probably laugh over that because you are the ones who proved to me that scientifically proved to me that certain people have big bones, and that is a scientific fact. So for me to make a smart ass comment over it, you're probably laughing and chuckling. So yeah. I love them. They were awesome. They were awesome people. Anyway, so yeah, I make no bones about it in the sense that she had some serious power. problem was with that piece of land was that there was a necromancer from the 1600s. Now, I need to find out, I need to contact and I will eventually. It's going to take me some time. This is usually how I do things. I get involved with something, then it gets drawn out because things take time, folks, to verify, to get validation and information. It's not always so crystal clear, drawn out, easy, snap your fingers, it's done. It doesn't work like that. Paranormal doesn't usually work like that, especially when you're trying to track down information to validate and get the verification. So I need to contact the original Native American tribe that was on that land. I found that out before. And I knew that when I was standing at the tree and I had the fairies around me, they were the ones who were telling me that I needed to contact, because I was like, who do I contact? Where do I go? They were the ones, the fairies were the ones who were telling me to contact the native tribes. That's how they were classifying them, the native tribes who were there before the town folks. And I still didn't quite understand why the tree would be classified as quote unquote the hanging tree. That actually really pissed me off, to say the least, because there are some lifetimes I anyway. So so here I am standing there talking, trying to hear as many voices as I possibly could regarding the fairies, telling me information, and Mrs. Keller was the one who was walking through the cemetery with me. I mean, I felt her. I didn't even get my foot, literally. What happened when I walked over, I practically jumped out of the moving car, which is like, for me, oh my God. The car wasn't fully stopped, and I'm unbuckling my seatbelt and grabbing my cane and opening the door, and the car's still moving, and I'm like, I gotta go. It was that big of a deal. I mean, I could not get onto that property fast enough. And I've never been that way. You could ask anybody that has known me, that has been around, and that's just not how I do things. And for me to leave my purse, that was the other thing. That's a big deal. I got out of the car still while it's moving, got the cane and got out. Yeah, wasn't good on the back and the body. Caused a lot of pain and problems immediately after we left the cemetery, but especially after walking into that pit, that just really, really hurt. So I was just given a note. So basically, yeah, this caused me a lot of physical problems, a lot of physical pain for being there. But the amount of information from that cemetery was just mind-boggling. I literally, 2 feet from the threshold, and there is a threshold to that cemetery. So it's got a white picket fence all the way around it. there are not metal stones. There are stones that are I've got a tape measure here. Old tape measure. The stones are maybe between 10 and 16 inches. So that's 16 inches. From here to here is 16 inches. They're that deep for the threshold of the cemetery. And so 10 to 16 inches. And they've got like a glitter type look to it. They're not normal stone. I don't know what they are. I need to find out what they are. But I'm 2 feet from that threshold, and as I'm putting my foot down, I literally, somebody is yanking on my belly, my breasts, everything from the core of me, pulling me in. And I'm like, I'm getting there. Calm down. So that was my entrance into, and whatever walking over this threshold was like walking into a different, almost like a different reality. It was like walking through a portal door, which oddly enough, actually I've done. That's tip me up with that one some other time. So that was my entrance. And my exit, literally, Mrs. Keller wouldn't allow me to leave without making this solemn vow. Her words, solemn vow to her and the residents of the cemetery to not just protect them, but to help them in whatever way I possibly could. And it was detrimental. That is, she did not use the word detrimental. She used a very, she was very refined lady. Oh my God. There are things that I can actually tell you about her spirit, that how she was in real life. Very refined lady. Very prim and proper, and staunch in a lot of ways, but very caring. These were very caring. And I and there's another woman who was with her. I keep wanting to call her Catherine with a K. Sorry, sign language, K. I think that's how. It's been a while since I've done sign language, so sorry for the folks. Anyway, so Catherine with a K was also there. Or maybe it's Catherine with a C and her middle initial is K. Anyhow, but Mrs. Keller was the one who she refused to allow me to leave unless I made this solemn vow, this promise that I would help them at some immediately, if not sooner, is kind of not exactly how she put it, but that was what was strongly implied. And I said, I will do what I can. I make you this promise, that I will do what I can. I don't know how I will go about doing it. I don't know what will happen. And she goes, we need help. She was essentially crying out for help. They all were. All of them. From the guy who showed me how he died on that tree, to him showing me his life before he died, to a number of the guys who died at the base of the tree. And this was before the town became a town. And then there was a hanging at that tree. And I don't think it's based on a number, at least 5 different souls that told me about it, individually told me about it. And then 3 of them came together and specifically told me, we don't believe it was ever put in the town. I want to say charter. The word charter is coming into my head right now. Into the town historical records, basically. And I'm like, oh my God. And it was something that happened late at night. It was something that took place because of thievery. And I had to deal with souls who I feel, oh my God, there were so many souls from this property. Eventually, the following year, in 2020, I'd have to look in my records. I believe it was June. I could be very wrong. But in 2020, Mrs. Keller, not Kelleher, Mrs. Keller, the woman with the, I mean, right up the neck. I mean, the style of dress, oh my God, the style of dress, the way her hair was done, it was like I can almost smell her. Clean and crisp linen, for some of the clothing, and yet sort of not at the same time. Mm-hmm. Just I don't know. It's just she came to me, and I ended up, and it wasn't just, she wasn't by herself. She came to me and she said something to the effect of, we need help now. We really need help now. And I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that I had a spirit coming to me. She wasn't in tears. She was very strong and stable. She was very worried. And she was, I don't want to say domineering. Domineering is not the right. Somebody on the other side literally just said the word domineering, which is why it came out of my mouth. She wasn't necessarily domineering. Very strong lady. And yeah, you had to be in the 1800s. Holy crap. She insisted that it needed to be now, and I got in contact with a friend of mine, who had been wanting me to work with him for like 6 months, 8 months, something like that, and I wasn't able to. And this became a bit of a dire situation, and I didn't understand why. And I found out that night, it was somewhere between 6 and 12 hours long of doing. I remember I was up for over 18, but somewhere between 6 to 12 hours is the amount of time that we were dealing with this situation with the town, specifically with the cemetery property, specifically with the entire land of the entire original town, and then some as it spread out over time up until 2019, 2020. And it was, the things that took place are mind-boggling. They're still mind-boggling to me. I did not know souls could be tortured. I did not know that souls could be ripped to shreds. And if you're a psychic medium and you come after me and say I'm telling you bullshit, no, I'm not. I've never seen anything like it. It made an incredible, it still makes an incredible impact on me emotionally. Crossed over 50 souls that night to the other side. I had sailors, I had men and women, I had Native American souls, I had, and don't come after me. That is, I understand Native American have different viewpoints, different. I get that. I just know what I experienced that night. I had Sasquatch souls I crossed over. I had Fae. There were a lot of souls. And it was because of a necromancer from the 1600s. It was a soul from a necromancer. And she's a hardcore necromancer. Hardcore. Many lifetimes as a necromancer. I have all of this written down, folks. I don't remember exactly how many lifetimes she had as a necromancer, but she had so many lifetimes as a necromancer that the other side, I had so many hierarchies. I had over 25 hierarchies giving me approval to deal with her soul, to take her out. Now, if you know me, you know what I feel about living souls. And about making it permanent for a soul to never be able to live again. It's a big freaking deal. So this was a heck of a learning lesson because of this cemetery, this town, the 1600s necromancer, things I didn't even know were, I mean, it was a head spinner. A major head spinner. So, folks, there are things that we don't know about. There are things. Different one. Sorry, nose is starting to go. There are things that we do not know about, and there are things that we can make assumptions on, and things that even as psychic mediums can say, well, it's this, it's that. But when you witness a very serious situation where a necromancer has created a being, called a being into our reality, and has brought them forth. I don't know I don't know what to classify that individual being as. You can call them demonic, you can call them evil. They were nasty as F. Very nasty, very wicked. My friend that I was working with definitely called them demonic. And this being had control over that cemetery and a good portion of the hill. And it was bad. It was really bad. I did not know that a being could do things like that. I mean, I what I saw from those souls was appalling. It was truly appalling, horrifying. And they were scared. I didn't even know. Like I said, I didn't even know that kind of stuff existed. I mean, just because you're a psychic medium doesn't mean that you know everything. It doesn't work like that. Anyway, so when you talk paranormal, there are certain things I think about. That's one of them. This is one of my experiences. Yes, we got the souls taken care of. Yes, the demonic entity, whatever it was, is no longer living. I had hierarchies that gave permission to do whatever I needed to do. Why me? I don't know. I mean, I know now, but then I didn't know. Sorry, my knee keeps hitting the center of the table, and there goes the nose because hello, tears. And for Nikki to bawl, to cry, even shed some tears, that's kind of a big deal. That's not normal for me. Not in the least. So, sorry. Basically, and I don't want to scare people. That's the thing. I do not want to scare people. But there are a number of factors that are truly frightening. We have a choice when we die. You can stay earthbound, or you can cross over to the other side, and the other side is whatever your faith is. That's whatever you believe it is. I mean, I had Jewish men. I had souls who were Jewish men. I had souls that were from other countries that I had a hard time understanding because of the language barrier issue. I had souls that were asking me, if I go, am I going to your heaven? And I'm like, it's what, and I had to, because they're from between the 1600s, most of them were the 1700s. The others were 1800s. The language was so different. I had to convert my thinking into, like I was talking to children, like we would to a child, a young child under the age of 5. That was really hard for me to do because their way of thinking was not modern by any stretch of the imagination. And that meant that communication had to be very specific, because if you and I are having a conversation like I'm talking to you right now, there are a shit ton of words, such as that phrase, shit ton. I would not be able to have that conversation with those individuals because the language, the terminology, and their understanding of terminology, very different. Very, very, very different. The Sasquatch souls, they got it. The fairy souls, they got it. The human souls, very different situation. I stopped counting at 52 souls. What is on that property now? What has been done to that property now because of what I did? Yes, Amy says many things they would take literally. Yes, correct. Like the terminology, shit ton. Oh, where's the pile of shit? I literally started having a conversation with 2 of the male souls, and I literal. Just exactly what Amy said. Many things they would take literally. No kidding. And that was when I immediately, not instantly, realized, change your verbiage, Nikki. You have to. They will not understand. And Mrs. Keller, for whatever reason, understood. And I remember her standing to my right at some point and saying, be patient with them. And I'm like, I understand that. I even had children come to me. Sorry, it just hit me. I forgot about the kids. There were children. There was a little girl and a little boy, brother and sister. I never quite grasped what time frame they came from. But it was really, they were very, and they clung to each other. They couldn't stop clinging to each other. So remember, this is in 2020. This is when all of this took place, and this is in this town. This is still a very vibrant, active town, and it's very much a wedding venue now. It's a beautiful, beautiful town. And my first paranormal experience with it was October of 2019. October? No. I had August was the UFO. September was the maybe it was October. I have to go back through my book. Anyway, September was the ufology convention. October, yeah, so it would have been October. So October of 2019. So that was when I took the pictures. That's when I got drawn. Yeah, we were headed over to. Was that the same time we were headed over to Port Townsend? No, that can't be right. Anyway, it doesn't matter, Nikki. Sorry, folks. I just this is a big deal. It's just big freaking deal. But the town it's a beautiful, and it's tiny. It's a tiny, tiny town. The town itself, the main section of the town is tiny, but the outlying area is not. Oh God, stupid nose. Pardon me. Okay, and my garbage can is behind me, and I'm not going to do that. So we'll just have to put that ick over there. Matter of fact, get the hand sanitizer. Ouch! Sorry, hand sanitizer. Whoops. There we go. So, what ends up taking place is Mrs. Keller coming to me in 2020, June of 2020, and I get my friend involved, and he and I, we know that there's certain things that are wrong with that hill. I was able to find psychically and higher consciousness, be able to find the location where this being was at. And I went, well, I'll be damned. Look at what's going on. I found it higher consciously wise and psychically wise, and went and searched for it on a Google map. Same dang lots of cuss words spot where there were dead trees. And I went, well, what do you know? And and then there was a section outside of the dead tree patch that was rather unusual. And so it just, everything became quite the conundrum. And that night, we had 6 hours where we were fighting and dealing with this. Somebody just said evil bitch monster from hell. That wasn't mine. That was not my terminology. I was gonna say being. Amy says, if you said this is heavy, does thou need help lifting? Yeah, exactly. Referring to the terminology they used. Anyway, so dealing with the being was not pleasant. My friend was really good at that. I was retrieving souls. They dealt with the evil being and entity, whatever you want to call it, while I retrieved souls and did soul care. Literally, SOUL. Next word, CARE. No joke. I stopped counting after 6 angels came in and started retrieving injured souls. I've never seen a soul. How do I explain this? Very carefully, yeah. When I see a soul, when I see a spirit and I see a soul, you see the person that they were in their last incarnation, lack of better terminology. You see the person. But I have always had this ability to be able to actually see, visually, psychically, visually see a person's soul. I can't call it a bubble. I can't call it a balloon. I don't know quite how to describe it. But I've seen them, and I have never, until that point in time, ever seen a soul. In this lifetime, that's how I should say this. In this lifetime, I have never seen a living soul that had holes in it. Ever. Some of these souls had rips and tears in them as if they were paper. Some of them had gigantic gaping holes through them to where you could see the other side. The angels, there were so many. There were so many souls that were being removed. That conundrum is the word that keeps popping into my head. It wore me out. Once they were away from this being, I started to see their face again, some of their original form, but with the rips and the holes and the tears in them, in like their body. It was like they were emaciated. It was like their what would have been their physical form was emaciated. And what's it called when it's like when they become a mummy and all the fluids are drained out of them. I can't think of what that's called. Um, Desiccated. Um, and thank you. And they just gave me the word desiccated because that was the word I was thinking of. I just couldn't pull it out of my head. So there were so many angels that came down. That were retrieving these severely injured souls. There was only 2 or 3 of them that were so bad off. I remember sitting here, but I was psychically and higher consciously standing on the cemetery property. And I remember looking at these 2 and 3 souls, and I remember asking an angel, are they retrievable? Are they going to live through this? And one of the angels told me, I don't know if too far gone, quote unquote, too far gone. One of them was too far gone, but they were going to take, and it was a male, and they were going to take him to the other side. And I asked the angels, what is going to happen? What happens to these that were so badly tortured, so badly desiccated? And basically, I was told that on the other side there is it's like a form of a hospital. I was actually shown it, and I will never. There are certain things I will never describe, ever. I okay. I need to rephrase that. I will never describe that currently. If I not if when I write my book, I haven't worked on my book in quite some time, but when I get back into doing that again, I might put all of everything I've ever seen and was ever told in the book. Well, it's going to be a lot of years away, and I already know that my granddaughter and grandson will write a book on me. I already know that. It's been told to me so many stinking times. It's not even funny. And they haven't even been conceived. These are souls that are telling me that they will be my grandchildren. I know who my grandchildren will be. I know how many I will have. Well, that's a whole other subject. But anyway, and I know that they will. I know for sure one of them will write a book. The second one has told me that they want to write a book. The first one has told me outright, yeah, I'm writing a book on you. All the things that you've ever talked about, all the things that, and speaking of which, I don't feel them at this very second, but in one of my other live broadcasts, they showed up and I was psychically shown that they would be watching. So that specific live broadcast, and I had said hello to them, my unborn babies, my unborn grandchildren. And so and that tells me YouTube's going to be around a while. That tells me right there that YouTube is going to be around for quite some time. Either that or I've had these videos kept one way or another. Anyway, if they are watching, because I don't feel it right now, but if they do watch this one, hello, my babies, I love you. So the angels, and I'm getting sidetracked. The angels told me that there's another side. There's the other side hospital. It's like a hospital. Lack of better phrasing. And they go into a very specific kind of care and treatment. But and we got all of them. That was a big deal. That was a really big deal to me. Not any of them truly died. We got all of them. Got all of them away from this being. That's a big deal. It's a really, really, really big deal. So, I asked what will happen to the property, and I just as I was starting to ask, because I had on my left side I had the souls asking me. They were patient too. Oh my God. The ones that were not injured or horribly tortured, they waited for me. And this being wouldn't let any of them cross over. Wouldn't let any of the souls that had died on that property cross over. And I didn't understand how Mrs. Keller had managed to cross over and come back. That made no sense to me whatsoever. I still don't understand that. But somehow she was crossed over. So I would still like to know how that came about, because that doesn't make any sense to my brain with everything that I experienced and what my friend experienced and witnessed and what we saw and all these men and women and the children that came forth and even the Sasquatch who came forth, who, lack of better terminology, gave me a hug, said thank you, and off they were. I mean, they crossed over. The Sasquatch, and it was because of this piece of property that I found out that the Sasquatch clans in Washington, certain Sasquatch clans in Washington State, had been trying hardcore for hundreds of years to protect that town, that cemetery, and that town. I also found out that the fairies, and numerous different forms of the fae, wood nymphs. I mean everything. Well, not everything, but many, many different species of the fae or races. I don't know what to call them. Anyway, they were all trying different ways, different maneuvers, different things, and to they were just waiting for somebody to come along that would really pay attention and listen, and have the ability to be able to put the right people together in certain ways to deal with this. And the Sasquatch, man, did they, I mean, they protected me for quite some time with this. This was a gigantic deal. Matter of fact, when I was heading over to Port Townsend to an event, they were. I saw a whole group of Sasquatch in trees, and they talked to me. Matter of fact, my son was in the back seat, and somebody else was driving. And my son is an adult, and he, I literally, I thought it was my son talking to me, but in a whisper. And I turned around and I said, "Did you just say something to me?" And he looks at me and goes, "No." And I looked at him and I said, "I could have swear." And then I hear the Sasquatch say, "It's us. Turn to your left, look in the trees." And I turned to my left, and as we're passing this one area, I look in the trees and I see this. And I'm like, and there was at least 8 of them, somewhere between 5 and 8 Sasquatch standing in the trees, and they wanted me to see them. And I just went, wow, we're here, we're watching, you're okay. And it just blew my mind. I mean, I was like, wow. And here I am, I'm going to a paranormal, uh, I was going to, Susie Hansen, who is based out of New Zealand, had come to the United States and was doing numerous, not shows, I can't think of what they're called at this second. She was being a speaker at a lot of different MUFON uh, groups and a lot of different groups across the United States and in other countries, um, and she's an ET abductee. And go look her up. She's got some phenomenal information. I really enjoyed talking with her. She's a really neat lady. Um, wow, has she had some experiences? Wow, mind bending. You think this kind of stuff is mind bending? Oh my word! Go check her out. I've got her listed. Um, I've got a file folder on my YouTube page here. I think it's under playlists or community. No, it's not community. It's under playlists. It's a file folder, and it has a bunch of different videos that she's done and things like that. So, but check her out, Susie Hansen out of New Zealand. Anyway, but that was my first memory of, well, seeing Sasquatch. That's how I should say that. Um, and that's kind of how this whole thing came about. Um, it was just mind boggling. Ouch. Um, sorry, guys, I'm getting ice pick pain. It's my nerves are, my nervous system. I'm getting nerve pains in my feet, which means I'll eventually have them in my fingers and rest of my body, and it's not being very nice at the moment. Wow. So here we are with going back last week. I and Mrs. Keller made me make a promise that I would deal with the situation there. I did. Um, on the property, that's what I was going to tell you. The angels, I said, what's going to happen to the property, because I'm concerned. This has been a cleaned piece of property now. There's only so much that I can do. I mean, to protect the property, I don't have that kind of power. I mean, I got abilities, but I don't have that kind of abilities. I mean, what is going to happen? And I had 2 angels and then a third angel come to tell me, and essentially is that I got told that there would be sentinel angels, um, Oh, cool. Um, there there would be sentinel angels um, put on the property. Um, there would be an undisclosed, and I'm saying it this way, there would be an undisclosed amount of sentinel angels on the cemetery, but on the entire town property, there would be an undisclosed amount of sentinel angels protecting. I'm going to start coughing. Hang on a second. Woo! Sorry about that, guys. Um, so you have the sentinel angels, um, and you have different other aspects protecting the property as well. Um, and then there was some kind of energy also protecting the property and the town. Um, and I was thanked. Both me and my friend were thanked up one side and down the other by numerous different beings. You had the fae, the fairy, different sections of the fae. You had the fairies included with that. We had angels, we had prime angels, we had sentinel angels. I had God, even or source, thanking me. I had numerous different hierarchies thanking me and thanking my friend. Um, I had the Sasquatch, different Sasquatches thanking us. Um, and it was a relief. It was a source problem, not a God source problem. It was the property was a concern and a problem for hundreds of years with the other side, and I understand why now. I'm will not probably I probably will not ever say to the public as to what was done to the necromancer soul. Um, she's no longer in existence. Her soul is no longer in existence. Um, I will not probably ever talk about what really happened to the being, the evil entity, demonic being, whatever you want to call it. It's no longer in existence. Oddly enough, it's because of this situation that I learned about the demon dogs, what I call the demon dogs, um, whom I just absolutely, oh my gosh, I absolutely love them. They're huge. They make me happy. They make me very happy. I call them demon dogs because I don't know what else to call them. And they don't mind being called that, and their owner doesn't mind me calling them that. It's just they're gigantic. I mean, their head is huge, huge. Puppies, yes. Amy said puppies. Yes, I love the puppies. I call them puppies, but they're not puppies. They're gigantic. I mean, they are just gigantic, and they eat voraciously, and they're very good at torture. Um, and nothing will live if they're chew toys. If there's a soul that becomes a chew toy, um, you're either there's something you've done very very badly for a long 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 time, usually through multiple lifetimes, and they will devour, and they don't. Nothing's coming back from them. Let's put it that way. Um, and this owner doesn't typically loan out his doggies. Um, but I got liked and am loved, and I appreciate that. And if there's a need, and there's a lot of doggies, there's a lot more than 6 doggies, um, and all of them, usually all of them like me. But there's 3. Well, there's really 4, but there's 3 that really like me, and one that I just absolutely just love to pieces. Um, Real sweetheart. Um, and I'm not calling you. um, so the puppies I call them puppies, even though they're these gigantic dogs, um, and the other side they know, um, the Sasquatch, they know, and nobody has a problem with it. Um, so if I get into real trouble, I I ask before I call the puppies, because they're that's kind of a that's kind of a thing. What else? Oh, so in 2020, right after this, uh, I think it was just before I got COVID, actually. So that would have been November of 2020. Um, I had somebody from a paranormal group. Was it 2021? It was either November of 2020 or like February, March of 2021. Excuse me. Sorry. And now we're going for the Propel. I really need you to sponsor me, please. I like your product. Anyway, asked me to take a look at a house. And I said, "Oh, what house? Where's it at?" And this is a gentleman from a good sized paranormal group, based out of Washington State. And basically wanted me to take a look at this very haunted house, and gave me the name of it. And I'm like, I don't recognize the name. Sent me a picture. And the next thing I know, I'm at the house. I instantly, in higher consciousness form, I might add, ended up at the house really unexpectedly. And I went, oh my God, this is the house. This is a house that's in that town. And come to find out, it's listed as one of the most haunted locations in Washington State, I believe. That is how I have it set in my head. That is how, when I read some of the information on this house, it's along those lines, that it's essentially advertised as one of the most haunted in Washington State. Oh yes, it is. It's haunted, all right. Um, so I end being at the house, inside the house. Actually, I wasn't just outside. I was looking at the picture. He sent me 2 or 3 pictures, if I remember correctly. And this gentleman of this house, and I think it wasn't the first picture I was, because it was the outside of the house, but it was a specific, a specific way it was photographed. It was the second picture that when I saw the second picture in a specific way, the shot was different, obviously, was when I went into instant higher consciousness form, and I was there. And I went, whoa, okay, what am I looking at here? And he's texting me messages at the same time that I'm there, and I'm like, he's starting to tell me information. I'm looking down at my phone going, don't tell me anything. I want to go in blind. I do not like walking into a place knowing certain things unless there's something really wicked and really wrong. Then I'm like, okay, tiny bits of info, not enough, but enough to know that I need to protect myself, that kind of thing. I mean, I always go in protecting myself, but this was a shock. So I ended up then, and hopefully they're not going to get angry with me, but I ended up being asked to take a look at the property. My name had been given to this gentleman by somebody else, which I don't remember who at the second. I'd have to go back in and look at the text, the chat, to remember who had given him my name, and which is fine. And I'm in the house, and I'm like, something's wrong with the basement. And I'm looking, and I'm literally at a specific spot in the basement, and I'm looking at the corner of this basement. And then I'm looking at like what I could only describe as a furnace, as an early 1900s furnace. I don't know what else to describe it as. And I'm like, something's wonky, like really wonky, bad energy. And then I get, I don't get scared. I'm picking up on something that somebody else is feeling. And it goes from there to I'm being shown and upstairs. And for this house, it's essentially the equivalent to a 3-4 story house, basement included. So you got basement, main level, goes up again. And so I go from the basement, and the next thing I know, I'm not going upstairs, I'm not going up inside passages, I'm just automatically to a spot. So I go from the basement to automatically to another location. And the other location is I'm standing in front of this doorway. And it's not painted. This is all original wood trim. Okay, you have to know this about me. I grew up in a family business. Okay. I grew up in the plumbing industry. My grandfather was a master plumber. He was into construction. He built homes. He remodeled homes. I grew up around master plumbers, master electricians, master woodworkers, machinists. Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. It was driving me nuts. Artists who would pay my grandfather in trade. So there was a glass blower who loved me as a kid, and to this day, I still have my own hand-blown champagne glass. And he spoke a different language. Speaking of which, I know you're on the other side. Love you. Never remember his name, but anyway, he knows who I'm talking about. And he would always call me, instead of calling me Nikki with an N, he would call me Mickey with an M. And so that's what's written on my glass, is my name is the word Mickey. instead of Nikki. And the bottom of the stem has the year it was crafted, and it's got carving in it, and it's glass carving, and it's beautiful. It's just, I treasure it immensely. And it's very rare that it ever comes out. It's got to be for a really specific special occasion. Brought it out for my 40th birthday. That was a big birthday to me. I didn't give a diddly spoo about my 50th, but my 40th was a really big deal to me. I was like, that was huge. So they came out for my 40th, and it hasn't been out since, and I'm 55 now. So, but I treasure it. It means a great deal to me. And so I've got people like that. I grew up around people like that. Master artisans, knew a painter, and just, anyway. So that's what I grew up around. So when I say I'm standing in front of this doorway, the door's closed. It's woodwork. It's specific kind of woodwork. It's beautifully done. It's definitely 1800s ish. I knew that the house was 1800s ish. And because this this town was established somewhere between 1848 and 1856, I knew that it was in that time period. And I know woodwork. I mean, I know my woodwork. I know my stuff. Usually, I mean, it fluctuates. When I was younger, I knew it a heck of a lot more because I was around it all the damn time. And so, being raised around that, you get a taste for very specific things, and different. So I know, like, dovetail cuts and just all sorts of stuff. So standing in front of this doorway, it has a specific cut to the wood. The wood is very specific. It looks original to the house. And I go to put my hand on the doorknob, and it's not my hand. I've never talked about that before. And I open the door, and it's a closet. The closet is filled with fur coats, and see, my grandmother, my mom's mom, very much loved quality items. And she would save her pennies, her dimes, her nickels, $1 here, $1 there. And she would work really hard. I mean, she was a really, really, really hardworking woman. She and her sister, my great aunt, they were very hardworking women. And my grandmother very much loved nice things. And so she would, over the course of many, many, many years, would buy herself a small, not a fur coat, a fur, it's like a shawl. It's like a fur shawl, but I can't think of what the term is. See, I used to know all this stuff. I used to know all the names, and I'm so far removed from it now. I'm like, I kind of don't even care anymore. But I was raised around that kind of stuff. So if Grandma brought out her stole, thank you, Grandma brought out her fur stole. She was going somewhere very, very fancy, very elaborate and expensive, and it was an extreme treat, one that didn't happen very often, hardly at all. But you she was raised in an environment um, where you dress to the nines, um, as the term goes, and she did. And so I know what fur was like, because it was one of the things that after my grandmother went blind, um, I used to go into her closet and stand in her closet, literally stand in her closet, and run my hands over the fur and pet it, because I it was just it, they these items were beautiful. My grandmother had a mink, kind of a gray white mink, um, bolero, I guess you'd call it. I couldn't think of what the right term is. It's lack of a better word. I don't. Bolero's not quite. It's not. Bolero is just too short. If you know clothing, you know what that is. If you don't worry about it. Um, but it's like maybe about 2 inches longer than a bolero. Um, no, it definitely wasn't a stole, a mink stole. Um, and so, um, uh, then that's why when I'm standing in front of this closet and the door is open, and actually open, and I'm looking at these mink, I'm like, and there's this musty smell to it. And I'm being told, walk in and turn around. And I walk in and I turn around, and on the inside of the wood, there were claw marks. These are claw marks, not of a dog. And I realized these were fingernail marks. And that what I am picking up on is a little boy, not a little girl. This is a very famous house where the woman had a little girl. And I don't know who this little boy came from. Well, I do now, but at the time I was like, who are you? And he started showing me numerous different aspects of his life. And he was not well treated. This is a soul that had, this is a human being who was a living human being who died as a child, um, not as a teenager. He died somewhere between the ages of 7 and 9 years old. Um, there was a woman in the house. I don't know. I know that she was a family member to this little boy, and I know that they were staying at this house. Um, so they weren't. And the town, if I remember correctly, the town owned that house because it was part of a mill. So it was town property essentially, and whoever ran the mill is whoever lived there. Um, and um, there was a woman who had lived there and was not very nice. This is completely separate from the other woman and the little boy. the woman with the little boy, she was not the mother of the little boy. I think she was the aunt or an older sister, is what I think. I have a lot of my tailbone, tailbone. Sorry, folks. Hang on. We gotta move. Gotta move. Somebody freaking. Oh. Sorry, guys. Sorry for the squeaks. Woo. Okay, Tylenol away. Woo, doggy. Woo, mother pucker. Woo. Sorry, guys. And anyway, so I believe she's. I knew she was a family member. Knew she was a family member, but she but I also knew she wasn't mother. She was a nice individual. The adult female, I can't stand. I do not like her. I will probably never like her because she was horribly abusive. What this little boy showed me was his life being around this woman. This woman was abusive beyond description. She had no business being around children. She had no business being around animals. Torturous bitch. And she would put this little boy in a closet, and it was the closet that this little boy was showing me, and this little boy as his spirit was showing me. And he would get so terrified in that closet that he would try to literally claw his way out of the closet. And I kept being shown by this little boy that there were specifically 3 claw marks. And they were his index finger, his middle finger, and his ring finger. And they were clawing down because he was so scared. And I could actually smell the perfume or whatever the adult woman wore on her body, because it would permeate, that smell would permeate the fur, and the fur was musty, which means it wasn't worn very often. And he showed me her in. So this little boy is showing me this adult woman who would wear some of these furs, but she wouldn't take care of her furs properly. And so, which is why they would smell musty, old and musty. And there were times that he would show me that he would be curled up in a ball. He would have his arms around his legs, and he'd be rocking back and out. He'd be rocking back and forth or rocking side to side, because she would leave him in the closet for hours on end. Hours. This little boy's soul, he showed me his life. I never did get his name, or at least I don't remember his name right now. I don't remember receiving his name. I knew he was scared. He was horribly scared of the woman, and that she was still in the house. I knew he was in the house, and I knew that his other family member was still in the house. I also knew that there was a young female, child who was older than he was that would come back. She was a crossed over soul that would come and go back and forth in and out of that house. Why? I'm like, no, you gotta, and I honestly believe that soul, that female soul that comes back and forth, that has crossed over, but that comes back and forth. I honestly believe that she is the daughter of the adult female, the one who was torturous. So, unbeknownst to me, while I'm getting all this information, and being shown different sections of the house and where she used to, there's another section of the basement that she would try to force him into. It's kind of like a coal. I want to call it like a coal. It's almost like a coal chute, but it's not a coal chute. I don't know, or a wood chute or something. There's something about that. I didn't even tell this paranormal gentleman about it, because it didn't really make sense to me. I didn't quite understand it at the time. What I did not grasp, was just, I mean, I knew this soul, this little boy, was really scared of this this adult, female soul. I mean, he was really, really scared of her. And he glommed on to me for 3 days. And what I did not know is that a soul can, when psychics and mediums talk about you having an attachment to you, yeah, you can have an attachment to you. They can stick around you, and what I did not understand until, I mean, I knew all of that, but what I didn't grasp was that until this incident with this little boy and this house, is that souls can actually, when they attach, they can actually wrap around your soul cord. Did not know that. And this little boy did that with me. And you have to remember something about me. I'm an ET abductee. I make no bones about it. I talk about it quite openly. I don't give two shits if you don't believe me or not. That's fine. That's your prerogative. But I know what I've gone through in my experiences. I've had them since childhood, early childhood, infancy, in fact. But the ones that I really remember are like from 2 years old. I used to say 4 years old, but then I started doing the math and I went, oh my God. Anyway, point being, I, at that moment in time, knew I was ET pregnant. I make no bones about that either, that I'm in a couple of different hybrid programs, breeding programs, whatever. Anyway, the baby programs. Make no bones about that either, and don't give a shit if you know. Don't give a diddly if I don't care if you believe me or not. I'm at a point in my life where these are my experiences. If you can't handle talking to me about different things, then whatever. But he attached. Here's this little boy, scared little boy, who's wrapped his own soul cord around my soul cord and is with me for 3 days. And I was already ET pregnant with a male, by the way. and I knew I was ET pregnant, or I had suspected. I had significantly suspected by that point in time. And I have somebody that is a psychic medium, that is a healer, that has a lot of different abilities, and they're one of the few individuals that I will trust when I say, um, "Can you check to see if I'm ET pregnant?" And they'll go, "Oh, yeah, okay, hang on a minute," and then they do a scan of me, and they're like, "Yeah, you are very." Um, and sometimes the ET babies, they don't talk. Sometimes they are very, very, very chatty. The souls is what I'm trying to say, very inarticulately. Um, and when this little boy spirit wrapped his soul cord around my soul cord, I, I mean, I felt like I was pregnant with twins. I was like, oh my God, I, what is with me? And I couldn't put my finger on exactly what it was. I didn't recognize, and I knew that he was around. I could feel the little boy around, but I couldn't feel that he was attached to me. Not like that. And such heaviness in my belly. I mean, it was uh, just intense. And on the third day, I went, and this was the third day after I had been in higher consciousness at that house. Okay. Um, so on the third day, I contacted my friend and I said, "Hey, I need you to do a scan of me, please. I think I'm ET pregnant with twins, and I've never had that happen. And it feels like both of them are male." And my friend was like, yes, and not twins. You have a spirit of a little boy attached, literally attached to you, your soul cord." And my friend could see it, literally, psychically, visually see it. And I was like, son of a bitch. And I I went, okay, I know which little boy it is. And I said thank you to my friend. And it explained why the hybrid infant the soul went rather silent, because he was pretty active before, but not a lot of words, just a lot of sensations and um, there's a lot of different things that you feel when you've been implanted with an embryo, and it starts coming to term and all this. If they're not talkative, there's a lot of things that they do, especially if you're a psychic medium. There's a lot of things that you know is them and it's not you, and it's all this other stuff. So anyway, um, so I came out here and I sat down and I said, okay, to the little boy that had, I'm being hugged. Love you, little one. Wow. I'm not going to explain that. Anyway, anyway, that is really sweet. That might get me to cry because the mama just kicked in. The mama mode in me just kicked in. Um, I just got a hello, essentially. Very nice, very sweet, loving, caring hello. Anyway, um, God, that was unexpected. Totally unexpected. Anyway, so I came in here and I sat down and I said to the little boy, I need that I saw at that house. I'm not naming names. I'm not saying what town. Um, if you want to know what town, I'm not verbally saying it. If you want to know, hit me up on my email. Excuse me, it's restorebelief2022@gmail.com. If you want to have a conversation about it, that way, or you can, excuse me, have a conversation with me on my Facebook page. It's very rare that I'm not one of these people that has hundreds upon hundreds of Facebook friends or even thousands of Facebook friends. That's just not me. I'm very, very specific about who I have on because it is a personal page to me. It's not a business page. I have a business page that is all public, very public. It's used. It's Nikki Jacobs Psychic Medium, and so you can find that on my Facebook page, nikki.jacobs.376. You can private message me. I have it available. Just sorry, my tailbone and my sciatica is really starting to kick in. It's been very nasty, which is all nerve and muscle and stuff. So sorry. So I'm going through a lot of pain at the moment. So you can message me that way, and we can have a conversation about the name of the town, the name of the house. And I'm being selective this way because it's a legal issue for me. I don't need to have anybody come back at me and try to sue me for anything because of anything that I've done or have said. I totally agree that the house is still very haunted. I did cross over the little boy. I'll get to that in a minute. But the psychic bitch is not the psychic bitch. That's the nickname that the government agencies use for me. I've been nicknamed the psychic bitch from hell. That cracks me up. Anyway, they don't like me. That's fine. I don't like them either. But I call the woman in that house, the one who likes to cause all kinds of lovely little problems in that house. I call her. I don't call her Miss Bitch. I call her Ghost. I call her Ghost Bitch. That's the nickname that I call her. Ghost Bitch. She's an earthbound spirit, and she's choosing to be that way, and she chooses to be very mean and very nasty, which is interesting. Sorry, guys, hang on a minute. Ever since I broke my tailbone, things have been fun. So yeah, I'm very careful because the house is still very haunted. They can still very much keep their accreditation or whatever in the most haunted house in Washington State, because it's still very much that this ghost is a nasty piece of work. I don't agree with anybody who tortures animals or children. I have a tendency to take severe issue with that. And she very much was nasty in real life. From what this little boy showed me, it was really bad. She led him to believe that he had no family that loved him, no family that cared about him. She psychologically beat him down, not just physically beat him down, but psychologically beat him down, to to where when he saw my, lack of better phrasing, light, because when you're an energy worker, you have a certain amount of light that comes in and deals with whatever you're doing with energy, and that energy has a tendency to be bright, usually bright white light, usually. Um, and this little boy saw that, and that's essentially what I got told was, I, quote unquote, I was drawn to your light. I wanted to know what it was, and you talked to me, and the others don't talk to me. And I'm like, what do you mean others? Oh, the others who, and of course they do. The town does walkthroughs of the house and a lot of other different things. Um, so the picture that I have up, I don't know if I'm going to keep that one up or not, or if I'm going to do the one that I did before I started the show. Black out the background though. When I was there Friday, back in when I was at the town on Friday, I took pictures of me at the bottom of the stairs, sort of at the bottom of the stairs. I wasn't really at the bottom. I was a bit of a distance away, but I was in my hat, and that's what the picture that you see is from. I blacked out the house, and there was, I thought, an image of the woman in the window. Now, I need to go in and blow up the picture and go, okay, is it really her, or was it just something that when I was, see, I'm very logical with things. So I was like, did I really see her in that picture? Is she really there? Or was it because I was in the process of blowing up the picture and blacking out the background, and in the process of just before blacking out this one section of the background, I could have sworn I saw a woman standing in the window. And let me tell you, there was nobody in that house that day or that afternoon. Not that I'm aware of, then, based on the things that I was told. The house is empty. Well, it's whatever. Anyway, so, and I just thought it was a little unusual. So I need to go back in and I need to make sure that, that if she was really there, because it's a very specific woman that I keep seeing, and it's not this Mrs. Keller that I see. It's somebody very different. And she is ghost bitch. I do not like her. And I don't like the fact that she had this child believing that he didn't have anybody loving him or caring about him, and that he wouldn't have. She kept trying to control him to the point to where she did not want him crossing over. And that'll piss me off. If you have a spirit who wants to stay earthbound, fine. I'm not going to force it. That's their choice. But if you have a spirit, a soul who wants to cross over and who is being prevented from crossing over because of torturous behavior from another spirit or an entity or something else that's causing and preventing them, that don't fly with me. And so when I found out that this little boy had wrapped his soul cord around mine, and I had sat down here and I had said, hey, I need to talk to the little boy. I know you're attached to me. I know you can hear me. And he, for those 3 days, he was making himself scarce at that house, but he was still there, but he was making himself scarce, but he had literally attached himself to me. And I'm like, we need to talk. When you feel safe enough, we need to talk. And it needs to be really soon, like not in a week, because I can't handle having you attached to me like this. This is not okay for me. And it's not okay for you. And he basically wanted me to deal with her. And I'm like, do you want to cross over? Yes, but I don't have anybody, any family that loves me or cares about me or that will come for me. And I said, that's not true. Even I know that's not true. I don't know where you're getting that from. And he goes, and he'd tell me, the woman, he wouldn't call her by name. He would call her, Her. He never called her by name. He would say, she told me, or her. It's her. It's her. And no. There were some whippings that he took, and we're not talking whoopings, we're talking whippings that he took. There were things that were done, and I'm like, wow. So I asked the other side while he was standing right next to me. He was standing right at, well, it wasn't this table I had then. I had a different table, but I had a table sitting here, and he was standing to my left. And he literally, I'm surprised he didn't leave bruises on my arm, because he grabbed onto me so hard, grabbed onto my forearm so hard. He said, I don't want to go back. I said, you don't have to go back. That's your choice. You have the choice to be where you want to be. And he goes, but I don't have anybody that loves me. And I'm like, that's not true. That's not true. I don't know you, and I'm beginning to love you. And he looks at me, and anyway, I asked him, why do you trust me? He goes, because you're safe. And I said, what makes me safe to you? He goes, because I can tell you're not like her. And I went, no, I'm nothing like her. I don't believe in doing what she is doing to you or to anybody else. And he showed me a couple of things that she had done to animals. And I said, you don't have to make your point. And he goes, basically he said, I don't understand. And I put it to him in little kid terms, because you're dealing with a little kid from the 1800s, mid 1800s. And had specific clothing too I've never talked about. But anyway, and I probably won't talk about his clothing publicly, but she basically insisted to him, I'm trying to phrase this very carefully. She insisted to him that not only did he have nobody to love and care about him, that she owned him outright. And I was like, that's not true. I looked at him and I said, you're not a slave to anybody. And he understood what that meant. And I said, you are your own person. You are not kept. You are not, I can't remember that there was a phrase I used with him that I knew that he would understand. And he got it. And asked him something to the effect of, can I call my grandmother and she can walk you over and cross you over? And he goes, but I don't know her. I said, my grandmother is a lot like me. I said, she will protect and she will love and care about you. But I said, I can feel it from the other side. You have family. You have family on the other side who want you. But you have to go to them without fear. And this took quite some time in conversation in helping him to understand what all this was about. I mean, he understood a lot of what it was about, but there are a lot of aspects that he didn't understand. And my grandmother, it was like something I'd never experienced before with her. It was like she came out of the white light. It was like the white light opened up, she walked out of it, and it closed back up. And grandma, my grandmother, stood to my right, and she just stood while I talked with him. And he said, I saw her. And I said, I know. And he said, she's still there. And I'm like, I know. And there were aspects where I could see her, but yet I couldn't, but yet I could feel her. And I remember Grandma saying something to the effect of, we will go whenever you're ready, and if you're not ready, we won't. And he understood that. There's more that I want to say. I'm kind of afraid to say it. Mostly because it'll ouch, tailbone, it'll trigger me. So here's this little boy who wants to be on the other side, but he's afraid. And he still got her voice in his head telling him he'll never be any good. He'll never cross over. He can't cross, telling him he can't cross over. Even if he wants to, it doesn't matter. You're talking so many years of garbage, over 100 years worth of garbage that he was told, and it's played on this little kid's psychological mind. I mean, even though he's a ghost, and he is a ghost, he's earthbound, and it was like, it reminded me of when I talked to the 17-year-old female ghost, who was out of the state of Connecticut. She was terrified to cross over. She wanted to. She wanted to be with her fiance. And he stood. She stood in front of me, off to my left, and he stood in front of me, kind of closer to me than she was. He was closer to me than she was, but he was off to my right. And it was this, she wanted to go with him, but she was too afraid, and she didn't understand. And it took some time helping her. And it was the same kind of scenario. She had a father. Sorry, I was trying to think of how to phrase this. She had a father who, in the late 1800s, yes, we're still going, Drew. We had she had a father who, in the late 1800s, had horribly abused her and did certain things. And she didn't want to see him on the other side, and there were other things with that. So it reminded me, dealing with this little boy who was standing here, it reminded me of dealing with the 17-year-old who had a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear. And here, this spirit, this little boy, he had to understand. And I'm like, if it means that I'm sitting or standing however long talking, well, however long my body will allow me to stand, or however long my body will allow me to sit, and explain, or have their family come and get them. And my grandmother told me that he had family on the other side that wanted to see him. They were what I would classify as ancient family. So they were like a generation and 2 and 3 generations back, and that he would remember them, um, uh, when he crossed over. He wouldn't recognize them instantaneously. He would recognize them within moments after crossing over. Um, and I my grandmother, I trust my grandmother. I mean, implicitly, in fact. And I just said, I said, Grandma, is there something that you can tell him that he would understand? Um, and he just, I mean, he just had this death grip on my arm, and wouldn't let go. And he started releasing, not being so tight on my arm, his energy. He just, and he had such little fingers, and his fingernails were so dirty. Um, he was, his hands were clean, but his fingernails were filthy. Um, and he just, when my grandmother started talking, he just slowly started releasing my arm. And I asked him if he started to understand, and I put it into terminology that he would understand, and he said yes. And he goes, "You mean I really don't have to be with her?" And I'm referring to the woman in the house. And I said, "No, you don't. You really, truly do not. This is your choice. It's not hers. It's your personal choice. If this is what you want, and you don't want to be," and one of the things that tripped me out is that I don't know anything. And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I don't know anything but her." And I said, "Oh, okay." Because he showed me a lot of his life. Um, he did know more than her, but that's not how he was remembering it. Which really taught me how much of a psychological play this adult female spirit, this earthbound ghost, had on him. The amount of control that she had over him. And so eventually, um, somebody is saying to me, "It sounds like we're trying to convince him to go." And I'm like, "No." I'm trying to respond back going, "No. I wasn't trying to convince him to go. I wanted him to have the understanding that he could make his own decision, that it was his decision and his decision alone if he wanted to go, and that there were other places that he could be and stay if he chose to stay earthbound." And so I wanted him to see all the different options that he had available to him, not just that it was, no, you can't go, you're mine. I mean, she treated him like a possession. So, and I do not want to use the word that keeps coming up that starts with, has an S and a V in it, and no. So yeah, they're saying, we still going. Oh wow, yeah, crazy though, Nikki. Yeah, you come away with different situations like this, and it really can be quite detrimental on a soul. And people need to understand you have a choice. If you want to stay earthbound, that's your choice. If you want to cross over, that's your choice. Um, there are a bit of advantages to both. And there are quite a few disadvantages if you stay earthbound. So, at least in my opinion. But everybody has a choice, and I'm not going to force a soul into one way or another. It's their choice. No matter what age you are, it's their choice. Um, he eventually, I had him in my hand, in my hand, and I gave him literally over to my grandmother. And my grandmother reached out, grabbed his hand, and she asked him if he was ready, and he looked back at me and he said yes. And they walked off together, and it just, I felt that opening, that white love passageway open and close again. I don't remember seeing it. I just remember they were there and then they were gone, but I felt it open and close. And I did eventually get a thank you. But I did ask the paranormal gentleman, and they said, talk to your psychic, because they've got their own psychic. I was like, talk to your psychic, find out if there's, if he witnessed when he was in the house, if he witnessed 3 claw marks, and they're human fingernail marks, from being held captive in that closet. I've even mentioned that when I was there on Friday, last Friday. I mentioned it to a couple of people, and they didn't know anything about it. Is that right? I just had a, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I've never physically been in that house before. Um, so, um, and when I was there, and the ghost bitch, as I call her, as I've nicknamed her, um, she, when I was taking pictures of doing selfies, taking pictures of myself, and the house was in the background, um, she nicknamed me. I'm trying to find the nickname, see if I can find it. Let's see here. Go through. Ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-doom. Okay, get this, rid of that. Go away. That doesn't have anything to do with anything. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Let's see. Public speaking. Yeah, public speaking. That's fun. Oh, come on, Nikki. No. Yeah, we're going back a couple of days. Yes. Okay. So it was Nancy at the museum, and it was Robin at the other location I was at. Okay. Um, Culture Center stopped at. Okay. Where are we? Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about. The Sasquatch. I had a Sasquatch come up and uh, talk to me. That was interesting. That was actually really interesting. Um, why am I not finding this? Um, yeah, I'm not going to say that name. Okay, sorry, folks. I'm trying to find this. There's a lot of information. Ah, mm, claw marks on the inside of the door. Oh, that. Oh, I wrote it down. Wow, it's no longer in here, folks. I literally asked the person I was with, typed it in here, and it is not in here anymore. Sent it to myself in text message. The text message is no longer in here. That is not okay. She called me a specific that and it was she called me a cripple. That's what pissed me the f off. Because I was in a great deal of pain. I was walking, and I went to stop to take a picture, and I had to, the picture that I took that I blacked out the background on. I just as I take the picture and I'm about to put the phone down, I grab onto my cane and I start to turn around, and she um, she called me an old cripple and a biddy, an old biddy. And I went, really? You're going to take me on? I'm like, bring it, bitch. Seriously, bring it. I I'm like, you talk to the other side. You find out what I can do. I don't put up with people like you, but I also don't believe in um, forcing a crossover. You, I would, but I'm not going to do that because then it screws everything up for numerous other situations. Um, yeah, it. I literally posted it in here. It's no longer in my phone. That is messed up. She called me a specific phrase. Wow. It's not in here anymore. It's no longer in here. I'm blown away. And we were in the car at the time when I put this into my phone. When I texted to myself, because I even asked the person I was with, I was like, wait a minute. I said, she said this, and this, and called me a something, something crippled old biddy. And I typed it into my phone. It's no longer in my phone. Huh. Well, that's a fascinating little tidbit. Anyway, so I've had confirmation. I've had a lot of confirmation from I'm looking through this book because there was a name that I got when I was at the not at the museum. Ouch, 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 ouch. I was standing in front of an item at the museum, had not even there you are. Had not even come around certain areas yet, and everything said don't touch. And so I would have my hand over, but I would not touch. And I was feeling energy to see what had energy. And I don't remember what I had my hand over because I was really in a great deal. By the time I took that picture, I was in so much pain. But before that, I was in the museum and I had my hand over to feel energy, right? And we hadn't come across any of the pictures of certain town people yet. And I have my hand over something and I literally hear the name Cyrus. And we walk around a corner and there's this image of I hit the wrong one. 2. There's a there's an image of Mr. and Mrs. Keller, and I hear the name Cyrus again, the first name of Cyrus, and I'm like, who is Cyrus? I walk up to the lady there, and I said, who's Cyrus? And she said that would be Cyrus Walker. And I said, is there a picture of him? And yeah, there's a picture, and it jives with, and this is a picture out of a book. This is the gentleman. It jives with some of the imagery that I was shown. From Mrs. Keller. Couldn't think of her name. I lost her name. I have her picture sitting. And so here's, I put this up. Got to do this. Got to move that. Move. Okay. So, so I'm going to do the picture again. So here is, now let's see if I can do this without screwing it up again. Okay. So this is Mrs. Keller. She is the woman who came to me in the cemetery and the woman who came to get me a number of months later here in my home. And when I saw her, she had she wasn't wearing something like that. She was wearing like a white a button-up shirt. button-up shirt that went up to the upper part of the neck. And I don't honestly know if there's pictures of other individuals, because the town, if I'm not mistaken, right, was um, established by men. Um, so I'll see if I can find, and because it was a forestry town. Um, and there's a lot of information. Um, and this history fascinates me. I just love history. Um, let's see if I can find. No, I'm not finding anything else. Yeah, no, I'm not finding anything else. I'm finding other pictures of men and logging industry things, but not. Um, so, anyway, so the houses are still there. And they're beautiful. They're beautiful houses. Um, yeah, they called them capitalists in this book. Um, anyway, I don't have very good psychic and periodically dressed period. Yes, periodical dressed period. Yeah, she was dressed in very much period. I call it costumes, but it's how they dressed back then. Um, uh, yeah, it's just so this is what I wanted to talk about. I mean, I'm 2 hours 46 minutes into this. This was a huge. There's a lot to this story, to that town, to a lot more than what the town even knows. Um, so you've got Fae and Sasquatch and fairies and um, um, a lot of good positive stuff, and then you get some things that aren't so positive. Um, yeah, I was just Drew saying dark history kept quiet, washed quiet. Yeah, very much so, Drew. It this town has endeared me though because of all the different things with it. Um, you have the terminology of little sleepy town. Kind of reminds me of what that means, but yet not at the same time. It's I see it more of a vibrant town now. Um, the energy is shifted in it, um, which is good. The little boy is crossed over, which is good. Um, I don't understand why the young female wishes to stay there, with the older woman who is just a nightmare. Um, I I was asked if it was a little girl that was there. No, I mean basically what I feel now is, and I walked over to the house on the street side, um, and stood there, and I kept getting told by the psychic, the ghost, um, basically get away. I was told something explicit, which I won't say, but and I'm like, I'm just standing here. Don't take me on. I don't. I was in no mood. I was hurting already, and I was trying to do energy work and shutting down, trying very hard to shut down my exhaustion and the kind of pain I was under, and do clear energy work. And I managed to do the clear energy work, but my body was like, yeah, I'm done. And basically by the time I got back to the car, I was to the point of hobbling. I could barely walk, could barely function. I really pushed my body to an extreme. Yeah, Drew said, "Out, get out." Yeah, that was essentially it. She didn't want to have anything to do with me, and I'm like, yeah, because I took away her. Anyway, I got to be nice. I do not like people that are like that. I cannot tolerate, will not tolerate. And you're on the other side, and you're pulling that crap. No. Um, there's not a heck of a lot I can do on this side, but there's a sure hell of a lot I can do over there. Um, and I mean, there are things, yes, that I can do, if presented, but that's different than over there. And I make no bones about it. I will not put up with that crap. So, and I haven't. So, uh, so I got validation. What I want to say is I got validation. Hey, Derek. Hey, sweetie. Um, I got validation from a lot of different things that came up. Um, but it made a big deal and a big difference to me, because even though I'm a psychic and I'm a medium, um, and I have these abilities and I trust in my abilities, um, it's really nice to have the validation, and the clarification on the information you receive. I mean, that's kind of a big deal. Okay, so Derek says hello. Hello. Amy, the yes, no, no, yes beans really upset me. Oh, yes, me too. Completely. Amy says hello. Derek and Andrew, how's the road? Did you have issues last week? Make that lady walk backwards. Yeah, I don't know. After I told the gentleman with that paranormal team that I crossed over a little boy, I haven't heard from him since. I probably wasn't the best um, best route, but the house is still very haunted. There is no problems with that whatsoever, and it's because of that woman. Um, so very much because of that woman. Um, wow. Anyway, so that's the long and the short of it, in a very long way about it. Um, I'm very much connected to Mrs. Keller, and that little boy. They, I mean, she literally would not allow me to cross over, literally put my foot over the sparkly stone of that cemetery. Yet I was being pulled in, or pulled, however you want to do it. Anyway, and then when I was leaving, she literally wouldn't allow me to pick my feet up. I even tried to readjust my feet, and she allowed for that, but I tried to take a step forward, and she was like, "No, you're not you're not moving. You need to make a vow with me." And it's like, of what? And so that's, this started in 2019 for me. with this town. And it really, it started with the Sasquatch. The first episode was with the Sasquatch. The next was with the cemetery. The next was with her, with Mrs. Keller. And now I've got a name with a face. I mean, that, especially when you get to dealing with so many spirits, you lose the faces. You will not forget, but the names, that's a different story. Yeah, Drew says she didn't want you taking her control away. Yeah, the woman in the house. Yeah, the ghost that's still there, the ghost bitch. Yes, she didn't want any of her control stripped away from her. And I'm like, you know what? There are things that I, as a living human being with abilities, can do on the other side. And there are a lot of things that I can't do. But the things that I can do, I'm very good at it. And I've got a reputation on the other side now. And they know if there's a situation that needs to get dealt with, I get called on. And it's not always fun, but I'll there are things where I'll do the dirty work, and there are things where I will deal with situations and make things, sorry, pain, make things appropriate and work things out and help souls and cross souls over. I mean, that's a big deal. If they want to be crossed over, that's a big deal. And my daily life is, just because I have spirits talking to me, big whoop. I mean, yeah, I know it's a big whoop, but at the same time, it's not. So here's an example of what a day in my life is like. I mean, I'm trying to find my notes because I've got notes. Monday, July 24th, quote, I think it's Rachel, end quote, said by a female spirit at 3:42 a.m. So on Friday, I had talked with a number of people. I was standing in front of the house, and I had my hands up like this and down like that and like that. And a lady and a gentleman were walking by, and they had followed another lady up onto the porch. Okay, we're going through a pain day. And reading what there was a sign up on the porch of this house. Well, not the porch itself, but towards the porch. And the lady had turned around and was coming back down, and she made a comment to them, or thought she had made a comment to them, and the guy looks over at her, and I thought he had made a comment, and I look at him because I'm starting to walk up the street, or towards the entrance of this part of this house at the street level. And I looked at him, and he looked like, hey, Frost Kitten, hi. I look at him and he looked like he didn't exactly believe. And then I said, the house really is haunted. Uh-oh, what just happened to my, hopefully we still have internet. Yes. Okay. Well, that was interesting. Um, and uh, I then tell them, I said, yeah, the house is very haunted. It's literally listed as one of the most haunted, um, or I think it's still listed as one of the most haunted houses in Washington State. And he looks at me and goes, really? And I'm like, oh yeah. And he was really interested. She wasn't so much. And I said, yeah, there's a spirit in there right now who doesn't want me anywhere near the property. And I looked at him and I said, I've told her tough fuck. And he starts laughing, and the woman he's with goes, oh! That cracked me up. It shouldn't have, but it did. It cracked me up because I'm usually pretty I don't know, sedate, I suppose. But I don't get a chance to talk about paranormal all that often in the grand scheme of things. So, not not with strangers, especially not with strangers. Um, it just causes too many problems. A lot of people have hardcore freaking issues with it. And I'm not out and about like I used to be. So, uh, and I just said, well, I said, the woman in there, I said, the reason why I said it is because the woman in there, I said, she's not nice to children nor animals. She locked kids up in a closet that had furs in it. I could smell and feel the fur. And the kid was terrified. I said, the kid, and that's not okay. And I said, there were claw marks on the inside of a closet door. And I said, that's not okay. It's not okay to torture people and children, and living or deceased. And I said, I take real issue with that. And he goes, well, that was the 1800s. And it was something to that effect. That was the 18. Yeah, Nikki tells it how it is. Yes, I do. I try to be nice about certain things, but then there are times I was just like, screw it. But I take real issue when you've got torturous behavior, and it's just not okay. And this spirit is like that in her spirit life, and I take issue with that too. But I'm also not going to take a spirit away from um, a very famous house. I don't think that's exactly right. Unless they specifically want to go, then we might have to have a conversation with, and I've never had that happen. So, but this little boy was not known, as far as I understood it, this little boy was not known to be in this house. And so, I've been trying to find validation, to find out who this little boy and his family is, who the young female is. So, and like I said, I believe it was likely an older sister, because she was a young woman, probably 17, 16, 17, 18, somewhere around there. And if not a sister, then possibly even an aunt. But I need to get validation and validation from the city to find out, or the town, to find out who lived in that house besides this the original family that lived there, because the original family didn't own it. The town owned it. The town owned the house, and whoever managed the mills, the wood mills, lumber mills, are the ones who were the ones that were actually dealing with the living in the house. And I don't believe, based on what I was shown by the little boy spirit, I don't believe that they came after. I don't believe he and this young female came after the first ones. I believe they lived, for whatever reason, in the house at the time with the original ones that were there. But I don't have validation for that yet. I don't have facts on that yet, and I'm hoping to get that soon, before the year is out, because I would like validation on that, to find out who this little boy is. Anyway, if you didn't hear the story, go back and listen to the first hour and 50 minutes, and you'll find out some really fascinating information about this town in Washington that overlooks the Hood Canal. It's a beautiful little town. It really is. And it's got a cemetery up on a hill, and it's got a beautiful church and a really pretty set of streets, old style houses from the 1800s. The town was 1856, established in 1856, but likely 1848, between 1848 and 1856. So anyway, and I dealt with a lot. I am going to show, so this is what I was going to post. I was going to show a picture, not a picture, a video, a mini video, first, second day. Okay, no, it's on the first. Let's see. I was very sad. They cut the tree down. So, I don't know, maybe you can see that. No, there's me. I want to be able to see the tree. So all you have is a tree stump now, and growth coming up. And I'm like, no, that's not cool, man. That's not cool. So what I might do is put no, I didn't. Oh, put the link in the comment section down below, Derek. I want to be able to see that. That's a big deal. That's a really big deal. I want to see that. Anyway, so that tree, I got really upset over that. So yeah, there's nothing left but a stump. I did a little mini video with it. So anyhow, I have the other thing I want to talk about is what did I want to talk about? I wanted to talk about the fact that on certain dirt or brick streets, no, they're all cement streets now, Drew. Although I'm sure they were dirt at one time, and then gravel, most likely. But I was never shown that. And the streets are actually, they're all cement. They're all cemented. So what I wanted to comment on and state is that I'm thinking about doing 2 nights a week after Spaced Out Radio is done. Ouch. after Spaced Out Radio is done with their nightly show, I'm thinking about doing 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. 12:30 p.m. Oh my God, 12:30 a.m. I'm sorry, 12:30 a.m. Pacific time until like 2 a.m. For people to come in and chat. But I'm just, yeah, there's only a couple of people that I have that with. Yeah, I think there's two. There's two individuals that I've got that on with this account. So, but it's in the comment section underneath this, is what I mean. And I'm going to be ending this real soon. But anyway, so 2 nights a week, looking at, yeah, see, this is what I'm talking about. Derek says, Angel, that's a great idea. I know at least 5 to 10 people that would come and chat after Dave's show. See, that's my point. That's what I'm finding, is that there's folks that do want to do that. And I'm seriously thinking about doing that twice a week. I can't do it every Monday through Friday. I can't. It's too much. Because it takes up a lot of energy for me to even have these things going on. But that's the idea. I need to figure out which days would work best for me. Because typically, today's obviously Thursday, but typically what I do is I have a Wednesday, a once a week Wednesday at 4:00. That's what I usually do every Wednesday at 4. Usually, but the last couple of weeks have been really wonky in my life. And so that's why you're getting me now instead of yesterday. And so Wednesdays for me is 4 p.m. my time, 4 p.m. Pacific my time on Wednesday. And then Wednesday night, I do a show with a group of people, a panel. I'm on a panel, and the show starts at 10 and it goes until midnight. And so come Thursday, I am wiped the freak out. And I'm surprised I even said I'm going to do this today, but I knew that it needed to be today because tomorrow I'm going to be busy. So what I might do is maybe Monday or Tuesday nights, and do that. Well, don't do both, Drew. So anyway, that's the idea. Monday or Tuesday night, or maybe Tuesday night and Friday night or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But I'm seriously thinking about doing that. Oh, and see, here's another another thing. So I'm getting spirit messages again. They won't let up. And then yesterday I got a message. It says, this message is out for Nikki. 6:23 p.m. yesterday. So I get a lot of weird shit. It's just a lot of weird stuff. So yeah, we might just, make up some popcorn and just do the live broadcast and just do it for an hour and a half, maybe 2 at the most. I cannot do all-nighters anymore. It's too much on me, and I've got way too much other things to deal with. So I've got to be able to have my energy. But yeah, I mean, there's a need. You're looking at 5 to 10 people. There's probably a whole lot more than that. So what I might, well, I'll think about it. Anyway, what I need to do is find somebody that can do music for me for an intro. That would be awesome if somebody knows somebody that is willing to do make my own music for an intro and an outro, intro music and exit music. That's a big deal to me. The other thing is I need to find Mysterion. Okay, I'll look into them. Yeah, see, I usually am too, Frost Kitten. I'm usually up at weird hours, so my sleep pattern is off, and then because of the back injury issues, it's just been it's been a bitch. So it's not so fun for that. And most people know that I can talk a blue streak. I mean, we're at 3 hours, 15 minutes. I can freaking talk a blue streak. Hit me with a certain subject and I can usually talk on it. Usually. Depends on how tired I am too and how excited I get about a subject. But hell, that kind of goes along with it. Anyway, and now I'm babbling. But I really wanted to talk about this this paranormal situation. It was a really, really big thing. Depending upon how I'm feeling tomorrow, I might do a live on what my take is. And it'll probably, actually, tomorrow night after Dave's show is probably when I'll do it, now that I think about it, because I want to do my own take on the hearing. There were a lot of very interesting things. And if you go to my Facebook page, I typed out a lot of stuff so you can see quotes that they did. And again, and I can hear somebody saying, say your Facebook page. All right. So obviously, facebook.com/Nikki, NIKKI JACOBS.376. There you go. So the other thing I might do is I might just take what I typed up and I might just post it here. I don't know if how long, because it's pretty dang long. I had to put it into 4 sections in the comment section because it took up so much space for comments. So I have the link posted for the hearing on my Facebook page publicly. And then in the comment section, you'll find 4 comments of my notes of quotes that were done by different speakers, different representatives, witnesses, so on and so forth. So, yeah. What else? Trying to think of anything else. Not thinking of anything at this second. There was something else. There was one last thing, and it's out of my head. Mostly because I need to eat and get vitamins. Oh, speaking of which, okay, product placement. If you don't know, and I usually do this at the beginning, I usually do, if I do products, if I usually promote products, I usually do it at the very beginning. Today, we're obviously not doing that. We're doing that at the end. If you know anybody who is having vision issues, tell them to look into this product. This is one that I take. Let's see, there we go. Premium Nutrition Sight Power. Tell them to look into it. Trying to find manufactured for Nature's Design, Mount Lake Terrace, Washington. Anyway, check it out. Give it a look. I had vision problems. I don't have 20/20. I wear glasses. I normally wear glasses. And I don't know, in the last year I started having I need new glasses. I haven't gotten in and gotten to doing that, mostly because of breaking your tailbone. You don't necessarily want to do certain things, and riding in a car was one of them for a while. And I started having, with my right eye, I started having problems with my right eye. And I'm really sensitive to certain things. So if I try something new, if I try a new product, then I usually, open and take one of the little pills and open it up and put it into, and I've got a empty prescription bottle filled with, what's left, what's remaining. I need to get a new container. Double aught. They're called double aught empty capsules. And these ones are gelatin. They're made out of, it's a vegetable gelatin. And I will divide up one pill this size and divide it up into quarters. Divide the pill into quarters and try it that way, because my body is super sensitive to different things, and now with new allergies and blah 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 blah. So, God, sorry. Whoo! I might have to take a pain pill tonight. 1:15 if I can get away with it. Oh my God, that is. Ooh, you're not being nice, body. Be nice. Anyway, and this stuff, I kid you not, within 12 hours of taking not two regular pills. Remember, they're quarter, what I quartered them down to. 2 1/4 pills made a significant difference. I mean, my eyes, specifically my right eye, started feeling a lot better. And then I didn't have any of the blurry stuff going on. And after 24 hours and having 4 doses, total of 4 doses, well, technically 1 pill, I was absolutely appalled by what I had learned. I'm not having any more problems with my eyes regarding that. Matter of fact, it's the first time in 2 years that they actually feel really good. Granted, my psychic eyes get tired, but that's a different subject. That's not the physical eyeballs. So anyway, give them a look. It's called Premium Nutrition Sight Power. Just do your own research. Do your own research. Make a couple of phone calls. There's a store that sells it. There's a store in Washington State that sells it. It's called Healthy Way. And I believe they've got a healthyway.com. They've got a website. So anyway, might be what? Supplement talks make me sleepy. Yeah. Anyway, that's the info. So, and I have a lot of other products. What I may do is just put a bunch of different um, uh, products into a meme, pictures of products that I've taken. Yeah, you're welcome. Um, and you're welcome, Frostkitten. I typically I take a lot of pictures of the different products I use. Um, and a lot of them I highly recommend because they've really made a significant difference. I'll tell you flat out that after a colonoscopy, I had two doctors and one anesthesiologist who told me, and I was 52 when I had the colonoscopy, who told me that I had the insides colon of a 35-year-old. And it's because there are certain things that I take that I'm like, and I'm 55. So there are things that I've done since my late 20s that I consistently do even now. I mean, yeah, I'm morbidly obese, BFD. It is a BFD. However, the difference is that on many levels, I've been consistently told that even though I'm morbidly obese, there are many aspects of me that is very healthy. Um, and I just had an unexpected CT scan of my heart, and my heart is healthy. For somebody who is morbidly obese, you would think that there would be, like significantly morbidly obese, you would think that there would be major issues, and there's not. Um, there are things that the other side tells me you need to look into, do your research on. I do. And then I will talk to my doctor, whether that's naturopath or uh, regular medical, and confirm with them about certain things. And yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think that's a good idea. You should probably take that, Nikki. Okay, so then we start off at a low dose and work it up to the regular normal dose. And um, so there are things like that. That's a big deal, folks. And I have been consistently told, oh, you look like you're between 35 and maybe 42. I'm 55. Um, I rarely wear makeup. Skin thing, like right now, my face is dry because, hello, I was out in the sun over the weekend and I didn't do my lotion or anything like that. And I didn't wear sunscreen again, which is not smart on my part. I will say that. Sorry, and the thing that you heard was my fingernail hitting my table by accident. And a lot of that has to do the skin. Yeah, you're dealing with genetics, but you're also dealing with what you put into your body. I don't eat a lot of junk food. Yeah, I do have ouch, ouch, ouch. I do have an occasional Coca-Cola. Do you know how rare that is? I have to be sick to have like literally have flu, or I've got a migraine that is killing, or my stomach is so upset that nothing else will work. And Coca-Cola, there's a history with me with Coca-Cola, and so it works for me. I know it doesn't work for everybody, but that's what works for me. And I stopped drinking regular sodas. Oh God. Um, oh my God. I stopped drinking regular sodas in like 2000, somewhere between 2004, 2006, somewhere around there. I drink a lot of iced tea. There's your caffeine, but I also don't use sugar anymore. I had to learn that one the hard way. Use different alternatives for that. Nothing chemical. Um, so, and it makes a difference. I do a lot of flaxseed oil, but it works. It goes to the cellular level. You deal, and I know my herbs, I know my nutrition things, I know my supplement stuff, and there've been a couple of times, oh, you should go work at a supplement store. Yeah, maybe at one time in my life, not now. I can't do the different things anymore because of the way my back is. But omega-3s are huge. I mean, oh my God, I can't begin to tell you how big of a deal it is to have omega-3 fatty acids in your daily diet, whether you like them or not. Uh, Flaxseed oil. Why can't I think of the other one? There's a couple of others. I could go down a whole list. I mean, you want to know about different things. I could give you a long list of different things to do your research on, and herbs. Everybody's doing all of these mini reels and Instagram things, and I'm not on any of that. I mean, I got back on Twitter last month. I've been off of it for 2.5 years. Folks are doing that kind of stuff. I have a love, barrage oil, rose hips, flaxseed. Why am I not thinking of it? I keep coming up with fennel. That's not what I mean. There's like 4 major oils that are, and the other side is what told me back in the 90s, early 90s, they were like, look into these 4 oils. And I was like, why? Cellular level cell health. Literally, it's the sheath around, the myelin sheath around the cell, each cell. That is what is so critical to health. And they weren't freaking kidding. I mean, yeah, I've got back injury and injury. And however, you keep your internal organs going and you keep them well and healthy, and to be told by 2 doctors and a anesthesiologist that I have the intestinal health of a 35-year-old when I'm 52 at the time, hello. I mean, all 3 of them came out and went, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm laying here. My legs are swollen. My kidneys aren't happy right now. But what are you talking about?" Because my legs were swollen and my kidneys weren't happy at the time. Because I was having other issues, and they're like, "We've not seen somebody your size, your age, where your intestines look like that. That's 35-year-old stuff. What are you doing?" And so we went down the list. I said, "You've got the list of everything I take." Okay. This is what I've learned about swollen legs, Derek. Get them elevated above your kidneys. My mom started having swollen legs before I did. Yeah, it does suck. And so now, when I go to bed, I make sure that I have pillows underneath my legs, and my legs are elevated above my kidneys. And basically, what happens is it's a combination heart kidney issue, and things are not being flushed right. But I'm no doctor. I mean, like, do your own frickin' research, folks. So yeah, Yeah, Derek, I gather you've talked to your doctor already. Um, ask ask them why it's happening. Ask about your kidneys. Ask about what's going on between. Um, when my mom was going through it, and she's in her 80s, she's got Alzheimer's and dementia, and she's in last stages of her Alzheimer's. um, and now she's at a point in her life. She's oh God, I'm 55, so she's 85. So I learned a lot being in and out of hospitals with my mom. Um, yeah, do your research, find a naturopath, find a cardiac specialist, a cardiologist. Cardiologist, okay, this is my experience. This is what I had to do, okay? Learn from me, learn from my experience. I had to find a cardiologist, an internist, and a naturopathic doctor. Those were my three biggies. And um, don't let it freak you out. Inform yourself. Honey, inform yourself. Don't freak yourself out. Don't allow the fear in. Fear out, positivity in, knowledge in, learn. Literally, work it out that way. Um, and you get those three working together, and you'll figure out what's going on. Get in, be seen. Um, I mean, I my yearly is with my yearly appointments for that kind of stuff. I have an EKG. I have a treadmill test done, or at least I did. I haven't had that done in 2 years because of my back. I have had an EKG and all of that, but uh, yeah, sweetie, I have too. I could tell you horror stories that I've had experiences with doctors. So, and then when I find one that is willing to work with me, because I have a very different take on things, and a lot of medical doctors don't like different takes. Um, they don't like different things. Let's just put it that way. So, the younger ones, some of them are pretty good. They're a lot better than some of the older ones, but yet the older ones have the experience. Um, yeah, a lot of places are like that, Derek. Get the patient in, get the patient out. Everything. Well, and that goes down to insurance. That's something that I learned, is that deals with insurance companies, because everything is. Ooh, I could actually do that this time. Fast, fast, fast. They're on a time clock, time crunch. Um, and it costs more to do a 30-minute yeah, a patient interview. That's not what I mean. A patient appointment. There's somebody that I know that you should talk to. They might have some ideas. Um, leave me how I can contact you, and I will. I'll see if I can get somebody else I know. They're on the East Coast as well. I'm on the West Coast. You're on the East Coast. You are in the southern part of the country. They're in the northern part of the country, but they've got a lot of contacts. I'll see what I can. You have. Oh, that's not what I thought you were. Okay, never mind. That is not what I thought that said. Anyway, so yeah, do your research. Um, do your research into medical stuff. I mean, talk to get in, whether you like the doctors or not, talk to them. Because that can be serious stuff, dude. I mean, like, serious stuff. So, that's not easy. Yeah, that's the key is eating really healthy, having certain supplements, because we are not getting the things that we are not getting the nutrition that we need in our foods anymore. That's a whole nother subject that can be talked about. Um, but yeah, and then you've got certain agencies that start with an F and end with an A, three-letter agencies, and so they have a tendency to do certain things, and it's really rough, to say the least. And I've got to be careful because I don't need my account blocked for talking about certain things. So that's why I say things a very specific way anymore nowadays. Um, because apparently I said something that somebody in YouTube land did not like, and it got this account blocked from writing in comments on other people's shows, live shows. Pissed me off 2 weeks. I was livid. Anyway, do your research. Look into kidney health, liver health, heart health. Um, yeah, and see, that's the thing, Derek. I wasn't even. I used a word that means a man's, not here, but down below, and it was not detrimental. It was not nasty. It was a little on the crude side, but not crude enough to cause a block. Um, yeah, I was not, and it was in regards to an elephant. I was like, what the heck is this? And it wasn't just Dave's show; it was so many other shows. I tried writing in other shows in comment section. And I just realized I've got it on top chat. Why is it not showing up on live chat? All messages should be visible. Thank you. Um, anyway, yeah, it was a big deal. It was a really big deal, in fact. Yeah, and see, I wasn't. That's what got me, is I wasn't being rude or nasty. Um, I just said that's the biggest. I was like, wait a minute. And even David commented, "Oh my God, that's not another leg. That's not another elephant behind that elephant." So, yeah, that was kind of an interesting little experience. Um, and it, but the thing is that it wasn't just that channel. It was all channels. I couldn't write on any of them. I could watch them, couldn't comment in any of them though. For 2 weeks, and I was like, wow, that's not okay. Even created another account, side account, and was locked out of that as well. And I was like, wow, that's really not okay. Anyway, trying to think if there's anything else regarding health. Always do your own research. Talk to the medical folks. Um, Finding good medical folks is hard. Trust me, I know that one well. Um, Derek, do you have email? And I ask that because not everybody does, and just because I'm a psychic medium, yeah, I'm not making a comment on that. Do you have email? Connect with me because I've got my email account at the bottom of the description box. Literally at the very end of the description box, literally gives my email. Shoot me over an email and I will see if I can get you in contact with the person that I know. And give you a list of vitamin supplements to look into, not to take, just to do your own research on, and see if you can, do some talking on your own to different folks so that you can get the help you need, because that can be not a good thing. I'm in Washington. Holy crap. Well, that's good to know. My son just sent me some information. That's kind of a big deal. So, anyway, yeah. So you're in Florida. I'm in Washington State. We're on opposite sides of the country. Yep, corner to corner. That's what I was literally before you said that. Speaking of my, hello. Thank you for the information that you sent. Anyway, so Derek, send me an email and I'll see what I can do to put you in contact with, hopefully, someone who's right. They do know a lot of medical information, but they've got a lot of contacts. And you might find referral after referral after referral. You might find somebody that can help you with what you're looking at and dealing with. And Hollow, I was just about to end. You'd come in at the very, very end. Of course, I've been doing this for 3 hours, 47 minutes. I gather you're home. Or are you at your girl's? Your girl's place. Anyway. I friggin' noticed. Yeah, 3 hours, 47 minutes. 48. Home. Okay. On that note, and Dave's show is about to start in 10, 12 minutes or thereabouts. I need to go. I need to eat. Get my own vitamins down. Thank you, Derek. I appreciate that. Yeah, you're very welcome. He's just said, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I'll recommend people to your channel. Yeah, I appreciate that. Because I do talk a lot about a wide range of subjects. Gardening. Well, I haven't talked about gardening recently, but I will talk about bits and pieces of gardening, bits and pieces of a lot of different subjects. Paranormal, ET is usually the big ones. Oh, chicken, spinach, and potatoes. Yeah, eat late dinner. Yeah, because you're like, what, 3 hours ahead of me? So you're like, it's 10 to 9 right now, my time. So you're what, 10 to midnight your time? 2 to, yeah. That's my boy. Anyway, So yeah, midnight din. Yeah. Yeah, I got up later than I anticipated but haven't had much sleep. Anyway, babbling. Ah, she needs to stop. Anyway. And Amy's still here. Hey Amy. Um Listening in, multitasking. Anyway, I can't think of anything else. Is there anything else? There's a bunch of things that I really wanted to get out. Nope, I think that's it. All right. Have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon, or wee morning hours. I hope you take very good care of yourself. If I still have my computer up and going, I might do a 12:30 a.m. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how my tailbone is feeling. Bye, guys. Oh, you ladies have a great night. Let's see. That's spaced out. Yeah. Bye, guys. Take good care. And thank you for listening. And if you liked what you heard, please follow, share, like, and subscribe. Anyway, yes, that really is it. Good night, folks. Take care.